Talk about not being a victim or the negatives of perceiving that you're a victim starting out in life day to day.
You know, I'm gonna be honest, man. I have been blessed to live both realities. My daddy wasn't in my life. My mom got pregnant at 17 and I didn't get this and I didn't get that. And man, I promise you, the day I gave my life to Christ and I started really like understanding ownership, like, this on you. All things still work together for the good for them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. You have to understand that you are your greatest asset. It's already in you. You just haven't activated it yet. I dare you to go within. I dare you to go, how am I great? What did God call me to do? What's my purpose on earth? And I'm telling you, once you do that, it's unlimited.
So good. We have ET on every week. I feel good right now. So, hey guys, listen, we're all trying to get more productive. And the question is, how do you find a way to get an edge? I'm a big believer that if you're getting mentoring or you're in an environment that causes growth, a growth-based environment, that you're much more likely to grow and you're going to grow faster. And that's why I love Growth Day. Growth Day is an app that my friend Brendan Burchard has created that I'm a big fan of. Write this down, growthday.com/ed. So if you want to be more productive, by the way, he's asked me, I post videos in there every single Monday that get your day off to the right start. He's got about $5,000, $10,000 worth of courses that are in there that come with the app. Also, some of the top influencers in the world are all posting content in there on a regular basis, like having the Avengers of personal development and business in one app. And I'm honored that he asked me to be a part of it as well and contribute on a weekly basis, and I do. So go over there and get signed up. You're going to get a free, tuition-free voucher to go to an event with Brendan and myself and a bunch of other influencers as well. So you get a free event out of it also. So go to growthday.com/ed. That's growthday.com/ed. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, I wish this was in person, but it'll still be fire today. I'm with... there is no better motivational speaker of all time. That's what you all know him for. But I got to know him a little better. And I'm going to tell you one thing about him. I don't know a better man. I wish I was around him more so I could tell you more stories. But I will tell you this. When my book came out, very few people stepped forward and said, hey, brother, how can I help you? And this man stepped forward in a way like nobody else did and helped me in ways that I will never forget till the day I die. His support for me and my family. And as great of a communicator as he is, I admire him. I look up to him as a husband, as a father, as a friend, and as an entrepreneur as well, but particularly as a man of faith and as a husband and a father. I know no better man than him, and I could give somebody no bigger compliment man to man than I'm giving him right now. So E.T., Eric Thomas, welcome back to the show. I love you, and it's great to have you here.
What's up, fam, man? I love you as well. And yeah, you know, it's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people in the business world, you know, but when you run across a couple of people, man, who share the same, you know, values that you share, you know, trying to leave their mark on the world, you know, and so, yeah, likewise, man, just coming to the house the first time, I remember, my wife still talks about it in Laguna Beach. Yep. She's like, hey, before we die, you need to give me a house, a beachfront house. I was like, oh, okay, I'll try, you know, but
you could do it.
You know, just the way your family was, man, and just the love and support, it's just been rich. And there are opportunities I've had and business things that I've done, you know, because of this relationship, man. And I'm grateful for. You know what I love the most? It's while it's public, you know, it's private. You know, it's not one of those things where you have to walk around and be like, boom, boom, boom. You know, so I'm just grateful for you, man, publicly and, you know, privately, bro.
Thank you, brother. Likewise. And I don't know why I'm getting emotional to start for some reason. I remember standing on my driveway having that conversation when we first met long time ago. Yeah. You changed people's lives. And I'm so grateful that we're going to talk about something that ET has out right now in a few minutes that will change your life literally 365 days a year. But before we do that, I wanted to ask you, there's so much in the world today, you know, there's all this strife and elections and all this stuff. And you and I are definitely not going there. But one thing I don't like when I'm watching either party is sort of, it's their fault. It's their fault. No, it's their fault. No, it's their fault. And I just feel like that's a dangerous way to live your life, even when it's true. So like you weren't born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Obviously, there's things that are harder in your life about the way you grew up, color of your skin, background, whatever it might be. I grew up with a drug addict and an alcoholic in my house. Those are legitimate things that don't put us on second base to start out in our lives.
Yeah.
Yet I don't know that it serves us to feel that way. So talk about not being a victim, or the negatives of perceiving that you're a victim starting out in life day to day.
I'm gonna be honest, man. I have been blessed to live both realities. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because sometimes, people speak on things and they speak passionately about stuff they've never experienced.
Mm.
I've been blessed to have once been a victim. Like I lived that. My daddy wasn't in my life. My mom got pregnant, at 17, and I didn't get this and I didn't get that. I have literally had a chance to see my life and the outcomes of my life having that philosophy, like living in that mindset. I know exactly what it feels like. And I'm talking about homeless, and again, I just want people to understand when I talk about homelessness, I'm really talking about, instability, the not feeling safe because you're either sleeping outside or sleeping in an abandoned building. I'm talking about the estranged relationship with my mom, not talking to my mom, not hugging my mom, not loving on my mom, and not realizing, that all of that has nothing to do with how you were born. That all of that has everything to do with your mindset. And because you see everybody as the reason why you're not where you're supposed to be, they have the power. And they don't even want the power. But that whole victim, and man, I promise you, the day I gave my life to Christ and I started really like understanding ownership, like, this on you. Like, you only homeless because that's the choice you made. Nobody really kicked you out. You just didn't want to follow the rules. Nobody kicked you out of school. You just weren't doing what you were supposed to do when you want to do it. And I tell everybody who's a victim and who doesn't like it, man, wait till you become a victor. And I'm not bump money, the ownership and the freedom. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can live life on your terms. Like, I'm doing a podcast with Mylett. That's what I chose to do. And I'm hurt that I couldn't be there in person. Why? I just was blessed with so many gigs, and I'm in Chicago. My mom, Ed, is speaking with me. I got my mom on stage. My mom's talking about being a teenage mom, growing up in Chicago, growing up on Deep South Chicago, Glenwood and 43rd, and how she had to get herself. Grandma wanted her on welfare. And she was like, nope, I'd rather be homeless. I'd rather start from the bottom and put my son in a better situation to be third generation, welfare. And so I'm like, man, I would have been a victor a long time ago had I known. Now, I'm not going to lie to y'all. It is the most challenging thing to do, to take responsibility for everything that's going on in your life. It's tough, especially I'm not going to blame him or her, and they do have something to do with it.
Right.
But I'm freeing them up completely. I'm freeing them up completely. Why? Because when I take ownership, I take the power back to live like I want to live, to have what I want to have, to do what I want to do. So I'm not going to lie, Ed, and say I've always been this dude who understands ownership, who understands responsibility. But I'm so grateful for the men in my life, the women in my life who steered me in that direction and warned me to get from that other one where I wasn't eating, where I was in an abandoned building alone, where I wasn't progressing. There was no growth. I was bitter. I was angry. I was resentful. I didn't have a spirit of forgiveness. And then once I became an owner of my own life and I became an asset and not a liability, everything changed. So give me the responsibility, but give me the check on the other side that goes with it as well.
Do you ever listen to somebody, everyone, and the vibration in their voice just moves you? That's ET. Once he gets going, you're like, we haven't even talked for like 7 minutes, and I'm relatively sure be able to knock this wall down right now and run through it. And it's just because of the man that he is. I want you to all picture this for a minute, though. Imagine this. You do grow up. Your dad's not in your life. It's obviously not like the pedigree that you would think, oh, everything's going to be easy. He ends up homeless, literally ate out of the trash. Took him a long time. Finally gets educated, goes to college. Took him a long time to complete that. And now you can't go anywhere on this planet where somebody of influence doesn't seem to quote this man or hasn't been influenced by him. It's not just the normal places, ET. I wanted to just tell you this now on the show, recording it. Obviously, if I go anywhere in the sports world or the motivational space, they know you, they quote you. But I have to tell you, I won't say who, but I was with someone who used to run our country. used to run our country, and they were talking about all the books they read, and I'll tell you off camera who it was, but I asked them, do you ever listen to anything that gets you going? And guess who they brought up? You.
Wow.
They knew that I knew you and brought you up. You think about that.
Wow.
The leader of the free world is quoting you.
Tell Jimmy Carter I said hello. I know he just made it to 100 years old.
Maybe it's because of you.
So, hey, guys, I want to jump in here for a second and talk about change and growth. And, by the way, it's no secret how people get ahead in life or how they grow. And also taking a look at the future. If you want to change your future, you got to change the things you're doing. If you continue to do the same things, you're probably going to produce the same results. But if you get into a new environment where you're learning new things and you're around other people that are growth oriented, you're much more likely to do that yourself. And that's why I love Growth Day. Write this down for a second. growthday.com/ed. My friend Brendan Bouchard has created the most incredible personal development and business app that I've ever seen in my life. Everything from goal setting software to personal accountability, journaling, courses, thousands of dollars worth of courses in there as well. I create content in there on Mondays where I contribute, as do a whole bunch of other influencers, like the Avengers of influencers and business minds in there. It's the Netflix for high achievers or people that want to be high achievers. So go check it out. My friend Brennan's made it very affordable, very easy to get involved. Go to growthday.com/ed. That's growthday.com/ed.
No, but I wanted to ask you about something that made me emotional reading. So most people know the story if they don't, but E.T. was homeless and ended up going to school for a long time, finally got his degree, one of the most educated people we've ever had on the show. But is this true? I was just picturing this. I pictured this just last night knowing we were going to meet and do this. Did you tell him how long it took you to graduate from when you started and when you finished? And is it true that you would go to graduations every year of other men and watch them graduate as you weren't?
Absolutely.
For like over a decade? Is that true?
Over a decade.
Tell us about that.
It's so true. So, yes, it took me 12 years to get a 4-year degree. Right. But one of the beautiful things about Oakwood, is that it is a small college, and it's family. Like, their brothers, younger brothers coming, cousins coming, their moms and dads have gone there, their grandparents, so graduation was, a part of the culture. It's like for people going to homecoming, it's like, we go to graduation. And I'll be honest, Ed, as a freshman going to a graduation, that's cool. A sophomore, that's cool. By your 5th year, you still there. It starts to not be okay.
Mm-hmm.
By the 7th year, it stings.
Oh my gosh.
But one of the things, Ed, I did was I kept going because I knew it was supposed to be me. And one of the things, and guys, this is where I talk about being a victim. So when you're a victim, you try your hardest to withdraw from responsibility. Anything that looks anything like responsibility, you try to remove yourself. Why? Because you don't want the accountability. Like you don't want anybody to say anything to you. You don't want to be corrected. You don't. And so I found myself, by year 8, 9 sting. But it was like, you got to stay here. Why? Because every year I would go, naturally, people weren't trying to, belittle me or harm me, verbally. They just would ask, hey, E, did you graduate yet? I graduated 4 years ago. I see you at the graduation. Did I miss your graduation? I'm saying? And it was like, no, I didn't graduate. Yep. And no, I don't see myself graduating in the next one. But I would keep going and keep going and keep going. And more importantly, by the time I had taken responsibility academically and was like, yep, I'm going to finally finish. And I did phenomenal, maybe the 8th or 9th year. But because I messed up so bad, when I finally got someone at the university to show love, Dr. Frazier, and paid for me to go to school, well, he ended up leaving and going to get his PhD. So, of course, when he left, there was a new king that knew not Joseph. There was a new director. He didn't know E.T., so he didn't let me in. So it took 3 years for me to get the money to be able to come back.
Wow.
And watch this, Ed. Here's the cool thing. I got to a point where that same graduation ceremony, I started doing it in my house. So whenever I would feel down and out and I wanted to quit and I would give up, I literally would pretend I had a cap and gown on. I saw myself with the academic regalia and they would play the dun, 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 dun. I would play the song and I would just walk through my house. And with a degree in business hailing from Detroit, Michigan, Eric Thomas. And I would just play it and play it and play it. And lo and behold, crazy speak. They say don't speak what you see, speak what you seek, right?
Ooh.
Until you see what you say. And I just kept saying, I'm gonna graduate, I'm gonna graduate. And then one day I was literally in the line, and my mom was there, and my grandma was there, and my wife was there, my son and my daughter was there. And although it hurt, I think it hurts more when you remove yourself from responsibility, when you remove yourself from people who are doing great things, when you remove yourself from an atmosphere that pushes you and pulls you, because it makes you, like, again, you don't have to deal with the accountability, but you also don't get the privilege of finally getting the reward.
Yeah.
And man, when I got that degree, when they said my name, I fell on the ground. I praised God. You weren't supposed to do that, but I fell and kissed the ground and just told God, thank you. So yes, it's true. I did it. And I did it as a means to push myself.
Hey guys, that's one of the best all-time stories. 12 years going to graduation purposely to make sure he kind of felt the pain of being there and also keep the vision. Think about that for a second. 12 years. That's easy. When you hear a story, it's like one thing, but that's every single year. ET, did you graduate yet? ET, did you graduate yet? And a lot of you that are entrepreneurs out there, hey, you make your first million yet? Hey, you make your first million yet? I had this uncle that, you make your first million yet? I remember that every holiday just to beat me up in front of the family. And finally, one Thanksgiving, I won't say his name, I was waiting. Finally, this one Thanksgiving, I knew he'd ask me because he asked me every year, and he goes, did you make your first million yet? I go, well, I'm glad you asked, because matter of fact, I did. And you know what? I've always wanted to ask you, have you made your first million yet? Of course, he hadn't after all these years.
Yeah, he couldn't say anything.
Yeah, but sometimes that struggle, I don't know, makes it sweeter somehow, makes it sweeter. One of the things that you've done, though, that I think it's funny because you're the hip hop preacher, but I don't think most people, I think if I say your name to most people, they're like intense, motivator, lights me up. I don't know that the average person who knows you knows how deeply your faith educates your life and affects it. I do, but I don't think most people do. And Eric has something out. ET has something out now called UOU 365 Devotional. Hold it up for the YouTubers. Tell us what this is, and because this is a daily thing. Changing your life is daily. It's not like one podcast. And then also just how much your faith has informed and affected your life overall.
You know, man, and people ask me all the time, like, why don't you talk more about, it's like talking about my love life with my wife. It's just so intimate, bro. It's like, it's not that I'm trying to hide nothing, but my life I've been with Didi since I was 16 years old. It's just some details. I'm just, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you wouldn't understand if I told you anyway. Like, you just wouldn't understand what she means to me. Like, you wouldn't get it, right? Good. And so my relationship with God, man, is so intimate. It's so personal. And you talked about it earlier. I don't know why this is the truth, especially in America, but it's like sometimes religion, spirituality, whatever you want to call it, a relationship with God, it causes so much division, and because my faith is so personal and God has done so much for me, it's like, bruh, I'm not a salesman. I'm not trying to get you to believe what I believe, bruh. It's like, I was homeless. He was there for me. Like, I felt angels in my presence. Like, there were people who would try to bust in the house and rob me or shoot and kill me. And I saw God protect me. I saw a guy pull a gun out on me from across the street and shoot it, and it missed me. I ran home and they didn't catch me. So I already know who God is. And so I don't want to get in these debates about God, these debates about religion, but I know God is my anchor. When my own mother, and bless her heart, I'm not trying to act like she didn't have reason for being mad at me. She did, right? But when my own mother was like, yo, I'm done. I'm through with you. God was just getting started with me. Y'all got to understand something. When you look at who I am today, there was a pastor who saw this version of me, bless his soul, rest his soul. He probably died about 3-4 years ago, Pastor Willis. He saw this version of me before I saw it. So what does that mean? Like, God invested in me broke. He invested in me when I was a high school dropout. He invested in me when I was homeless. Like, even before I knew who he was, he gave me this voice and his energy and his passion. I was doing this when I was a teenager. I just wasn't doing it for the right reason, And so my relationship with God is so intimate. And what I realized is, even when I used to speak, I was a better speaker when I mentioned God. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? I was just a better speaker. You know what I'm saying? People used to say all the time, like, I love your motivation, bro. But whoa, when you start talking about God, like you go to a different place. And I was like, oh, what does that mean? They was like, yo, I can't explain it. I'm the listener. But I'm telling you, when you mention God and your relationship with God, so I wrote the 365-day journal, a devotional, because I realized that when Eric Thomas was not this version of himself all year, okay, we don't even got time for that. But it might have been like 6 months. He was this dude. Another 6 months, he was the other dude. I realized, okay, here's what's going wrong. When you're at your best, there are certain biblical habits that you are embracing, and it's causing you to act a certain way, talk a certain way, attract certain people. Look, bro, I'm just being real. I'm blessed, bro. Check how many podcasts I do a year. I just don't do it.
I know.
I don't do it, y'all. But there are certain people every year or every other year when it's like, man, I'm feeling like connecting. We do podcasts. I probably do 5 podcasts a year. If it's 10, I doubt it very seriously. It's probably 5. Why? Because I'm so blessed that I just get to work with and attract. That's the one thing when I was with Warren Buffett that he said that blew my mind. Of all the things he said, when they asked him, hey, being a billionaire, what are the things that you get to do that most people don't get to do? He was like, yo, I get to, y'all not going to believe this, but I get to work with the people that I want to work with. I don't have to work with people I don't want to work with. I was like, think of how many people going to work every day and you can't stand the people at your job. And they literally irk you, get on your last nerve, like they taint the experience of your job. And so for me, man, when I speak and then when I bring God in it. So I was like, you got to share with them that when you really got on, things start clicking for you, you was more the man that God wanted you to be than you weren't. And that was read my Bible every day, praying every day. And I don't know religious stuff. I was just like, man, I got to meet the man that gave me these gifts. I got to meet the man that when nobody else didn't want me, he still poured into me. Like, I got to meet the guy that stopped me from getting shot and killed. I got to meet the guy that got me off the streets of Detroit, sent me to church, introduced me to Dee Dee at the church. We've been married over 34 years now. Like, yo, I gotta get to know this guy because if he's doing all this for me and we don't even really have no relationship, man, what's gonna happen when we have a relationship? So for me, it's not just the habits that, Ed talk about, in the power, of one more. And that's why I went to go do it, because I know Ed's story and I just knew when his book comes out, y'all, one more day, bruh, like one more forgiveness, one more try, one more rep. I was like, oh, no. And if you can do that one more and you can do that 365 days, it's like, bruh, that mindset is going to allow you to see a version of yourself that you would never see. So that's what it's about. I don't need you to do it in January. I don't need you to do it in February. I need you to do it January, February, March, April, May. And if you can read this book every day and see these habits and start practicing them, man, I guarantee. I do have to say this too, Ed. I got to give Dennis Kimbrough his credit. So he wrote a devotional, Daily Motivation for African-American Success. What he did that I thought was genius, and I think we've probably all, read, the book. But he wrote a book. Man, I can't believe I can't remember the book right now, but it was a spinoff, right, of, man, what's the book? I'll think about it later.
Okay.
It'll hit me. And so then what he did was from that book, he wrote this devotional, right?
Okay.
And so I remember like, wow, I'm really messed up. I love this book, but I can't get past January. Every year I get it, it'd be January, then February. It probably took me about 6 years before I read every single day. And I realized something about who I was as a man and who I was as a person, that I wasn't consistent, right? That I didn't follow through, right? That's what that book did for me. And so I was like, you know what? One of these days, you're going to have to you have to write a 365 devotional so that people can read it every day and learn about themselves. How dedicated can I be to this small 10, 15 minutes a day? Like, how dedicated can I be to this practice? How often can I do this? Not make an excuse. Even if I don't feel good, can I still wake up and dedicate this 5 or 10? And so for me, it's, can you do it for 365 days? And when you can finally get to that point, man, it's a total different experience.
How do they get it, ET?
You2025.com. There it is. You2025.com. And why you? Because we just believe you owe you. That's it. You owe you. And so when people ask me about the politics, I said, let me tell you very closely. I just left for school in Chicago. I'm telling y'all, when Bush was in office, he didn't come to my school. Okay? He had a lot going on, right? When Obama was president, when Trump was president, whoever becomes Trump, president now, listen to me very closely. They're not coming to my neighborhood. They're not taking care of Dee Dee. They're not going to take care of Jalen and Jada. They're politicians. They're going to do their work from the White House. You owe you, right? No party owes you. You owe you. And so you 2025. Why? Because when you read this book, we want you to discover you to figure out who you are, you to see your greatness, you to see you're an asset, you to unleash the greatness in you. And so you2025.com.
I love it. By the way, everybody, ET does more work in schools than any successful entrepreneur or speaker that's probably ever lived. And I always tell y'all, you're most qualified in life to help those that you used to be.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you something. Isn't it ironic that he comes back to the same neighborhoods, but also that his struggle was in school, that one of the things ET struggled with was school, yet he spends time helping children that are in school over and over again. One of the things with my faith, I'll meet you in the middle on that, just as I've gotten older, it's like there's just been plenty of times in my life where I was inadequate on my own. And I learned it ends with me. It's got to begin somewhere other than me. And I've always had God in my life that's been there for me. I literally have these pictures of people have asked me, when you become successful, how did it happen? I can give you a step, this 1, 2, 3, 4. But then I can just also tell you that there's been so many times in my life, I don't even know what happened. I just woke up and God had picked me up and carried me for a while. And I can only conclude that that's what happened because I don't know how it happened otherwise.
This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Listen, it's the time of year where you want to make the next year one of the great years of your life. One of the things you should probably consider is therapy. Most successful people and happy people that I know are either in therapy or have been in therapy because it helps them get clarity, helps them unwind some things that are holding them back, and it gets them focused on the things that need to move forward. So whether you've got major trauma in your life you need to work through, or just a lack of clarity and focus in your life that you would like to get more clear on things and a sense of direction in your life, therapy is a great way to do it. And that's where BetterHelp is so great for people to learn different things. And that's where BetterHelp comes in. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, it's convenient, it's flexible, suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You can switch therapists for any time for no additional charge. Find comfort this December with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/edshow today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/edshow. So last year, our family sat around like many families do, and we were looking at all these old pictures in our lives. And a lot of them got degraded. They were wrinkled. It kind of sucked, you know? And so I found a company that I really believe in because I think the holidays are all about connecting with loved ones. So I love Aura Frames. Here's what they do. They help you send a digital picture from you to your friends or family. It's easy. What you do is you upload your favorite picture of the family to one frame, and you relive all those happy moments again. This year, I'm really looking forward. I'm giving my mom a bunch of pictures of my mom when she was dating my dad, and they're coming in this digital frame. It's just super cool. It's personal gifts. It's a brilliant idea, and it's like the best framing you could possibly do, the best way to give a gift. So give your best gift this holiday season. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com to get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames by using my promo code Mylett, M-Y-L-E-T-T at checkout. That's A-U-R-A frames.com, promo code Mylett. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply.
And if you don't mind talking about it, you've kind of experienced some of that in life. I think a lot of people think, well, once I'm successful, all the trials and tribulations of my life will end. And they don't. And different ones present themselves. And in your life with Dee Dee, who's been with you basically most of your life, and you know that I relate to that in my marriage as well, you guys have been kind of under attack a little bit with a real difficulty in your family. So talk a little bit about what's taken place there, if you don't mind, with Dee Dee, and then how it's affected you and how you've handled it, and maybe God's role in that.
I was just saying to my church the other day, I didn't think about this. And you know, man, reading the Bible, you can read the same chapter or story, and God's going to keep showing you stuff that you never like. It's like, where was that at the last time? The last 20 times I read that, where was that? And so, of course, most of you know Didi was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And here's the part that's dope about that. That oftentimes when you look at something like that, like you go, man, E had a video, the Guru story, over 100 million hits, and this celebrity made one like it, and this celebrity posted it, and this thing blew up, and he became. But do you know, with the same energy you say that is the same energy you need to say, and Didi was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Because oftentimes what you would consider to be a curse is God's way of elevating you and taking you to another level. Let me explain what I mean by that. I recently read in the book, I think it's the book of Samuel, right? And it was talking about David. I never noticed this before, but David started his ministry off with Jonathan. Well, first he started, of course, in the palace, but he had Jonathan. This dude loved him with the love. David said that this relationship was so tough. He said that he loved, and I don't know how it's possible, but he said he loved Jonathan, more than that of a woman. Their platonic relationship, the bond was so strong. But then he had Saul, who hated his guts and tried to kill him in the same house. And so what we have to understand is there is this unique balance between sabotage and support that makes us who we are. And let me tell you something. When Didi got MS, I ain't never prayed to God like that in my life, not even for myself. I prayed for Didi in a way, in our union, in a way that I had never even prayed when I was homeless. Didi's MS drew me closer to God, and God was able to show up and show me a part of him that I had never seen before. He was like, you think I did something in school? You think I helped you academically? You think I learned to help you to speak? Watch what I do in your relationship. And I'm telling y'all, if y'all see Didi now, you would not even know Didi has MS. I'm telling you, I promise you, you wouldn't know. And so what that situation did was it drew me and Didi closer. It made my kids, who didn't even realize they were entitled, it made them see how blessed they were to have a mother who was healthy and diagnosed with MS. It made us hug her harder. It made us not take her for granted all those years. She ran the house and took care of everything. It was like, whoa, they shifted. Mom needs us. Man, it changed everything. And more importantly, Didi left her job, which she never wanted to leave. Didi would probably be retiring either last year or this year. And that was over 10 years ago.
Wow.
And Didi and I have done ministry together. We built a church together. We're together pretty much every day, doing ministry together. Awesome. And so if Didi hadn't gotten MS, none of this would be what it is right now. She would have kept her job. She's a nurse. She went to school to be a nurse. She loves doing it. She was like, I never wanted to work with you. You know what I'm saying? I never wanted to work with you. I never wanted to be with you every day. But God took what the enemy meant for bad and he turned it for good. So Ed, that situation taught me that you can't bake a cake. You can't bake a cake. Even your favorite cake, you can't bake a cake with just sugar. Like you can't make a cake with just sugar, y'all. As much as you like to believe that's what a cake is made of, it's not made of just sugar. And it has some salt in it. And it has some other ingredients, eggs that are not sweet. But in order to get sweet, God's gotta mix it up. And so Didi getting MS was a part of the mixture that made our life as rich as our lives are now.
Oh my gosh, that's just unreal. I'm so glad that she's doing well, brother.
Yeah.
There's this balance. When you start talking about faith, then there's the crowd that goes, I'm just giving it all to the Lord. And as if there's no seeds they have to plant for there to be a harvest, right? So one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the parable of the sower. One of the reasons I love that parable is that it does talk about you actually planting seeds for God to provide a harvest. The birds are going to get some, the weather's going to get some, etc. And I think you've been around lots of highly successful people, and you are one. And one of the things that I think most people don't know is the level of work required, of effort. Meaning, like, I don't know, I think if someone spent the last 5 years with me in business and I'm not trying to brag, but like if they thought they worked hard, there's levels to this game. Or like in the speaking game, you and I talked when the stuff hit the last couple of years. There's just levels to the work ethic and the grind, the things you got to do. You look at a Steph Curry in basketball. Oh, he's such a gifted shooter. Actually, he's not. Actually, it's the grind. Actually, Tiger and Jack Nicklaus, the amount of golf balls they hit. Actually, Judge and Ohtani in baseball, you have no idea the amount of work. And even in coaching, you and I have been around all these great college football coaches, but I think it's one of the hardest jobs in the world. Yeah. There's a level to where Saban played at, Dabo Swinney, who I know you've been with. I think most people are like at about, and you talk about this a lot, like maybe they're 50, 60% of their capacity or effort. And that is not going to get it done, no matter how much you sit around and do other things that serve you. There's a level to this thing, and you've been close to it, and you are at it. Talk about that for a minute.
Look, I want to say this to everybody that's listening. Here's what I think would be the easier thing to do. Just lower your expectations. I'm just being real. Like, you know, when I was with Ed and he was doing the book launch, I'm just being real. I did a book launch. It was probably 70% on that level in terms of I wasn't just in the, don't get it twisted. I'm not a good guy, okay? God makes me a better man. I was in the room learning. I promise y'all, I wasn't just in there talking. Listen to me. I don't even know if Ed knows this. Before I did my thing and after I did my thing, I was all the way in the back sitting down.
I didn't know that.
I was all the way in the back of the room with a pen and a pad.
I didn't know that.
Like studying. Like, yo, bruh, this is being real. You're not on this level. Like you're not on this level in terms of like maximizing, you know, your network. Like you're not on that. The space that we were in. Listen to me. I don't know if I told you this, but your guy, he ended up helping me what would you call it? Like renovate the church and put beautiful siding on it. He don't even live here.
I did not know that. He don't even live
here.
Wow.
He helped me. He made some phone calls. He called the piece like, if I gotta leave Charlotte and come down there, I got you. But I'm gonna try to find somebody. This is what I'm talking about, y'all. Like, so I was in the building, learning, seeing who Ed was connecting with, then connecting with them afterwards. Look, so here's my deal. When I was in the room, I had to say to myself, if you want some of this stuff Ed got, you gotta raise your game some. So you got an option. You can even go, hey, me being in the room with Ed and watching what Ed was doing, this is strictly for recreational purposes. You feel me? Yeah. It's like, hey, this recreational purpose, bro. Yeah. Go ahead and get out of here. Or, hey, God showed it to you. He showed it to you. He showed you a level. Are you ready? And so for me, it was like, absolutely, I'm ready. So I just want to say this to you guys. Either lower your expectations because you don't have to do everything you see other people do. You don't have to do it. You could just go, man, it's like going to a basketball game. You're not trying to suit up and do what Curry does. But when you look at it, you kind of thinking, oh, he human like I'm human, so I can watch yourself, okay? Watch yourself. You might not want to put them sneaks on. You might not want to get in that gym. And when I saw Ed do when I went back, I was like, okay, number one, you got to get more organized. So like you got passion, you got energy, but what you saw in Ed, you saw a system, you saw structure. You saw people over here and people over here and people doing it and people in the back. And when you get in, people in the parking. So it's like, when you get to the crib, from a speaking standpoint, you definitely giving 1,000%. Right. But from a structural standpoint, you're not giving 1,000%. Then I look at the packages in the dip, and I was like, you don't got. So y'all might have saw, if you watched it, it was a group in here, then it was a group out there, and then the level of men that was on stage who are also dominant in their particular area. Bro, I was with people who I've only seen in a podcast. I only see these dudes on social media. Yeah. I ain't never been in a room with them before. I was in a room with them. And so, yes, I had to come home. Not necessarily get up earlier, not necessarily grind physically harder, but I had to take my mental game to another level. I had to take my systems game to another level. This is a grind that you probably don't know, I had to remove people, which hurts, to bring in a different group of people to take me where I wanted to go, because I realized a group that was with me, phenomenal group of humans, phenomenal group of people. They probably would get to heaven before I get there. But in order to take me from number 4 to number 1, they weren't necessarily the people that could do that. So to Ed's point, I personally went home and did an evaluation on ET. I personally studied ET and said, yeah, you got it going over here. But this seed is an apple seed, an orange seed. This is not a watermelon seed. And these seeds that you're planting will never get you watermelon. So yep, you got some dynamic, you posting every day, you putting out dynamic stuff, but that will not get what you saw Ed do in terms of systems. And so you got to come home and your new grind is system. I don't know what your grind is, but I'm telling you, I had to start reading books. I had to go to conferences. I had to shift what I was watching online. I had to shift who I was following. Great humans, great people. They were only going to help me sustain this energy. They weren't going to help me with the structure. Here's what I realized. Nobody's better than you, but there are some people who's got better systems than you. And so if you want to see growth, you got to start grinding on the systems level. So I don't want you to get what Ed said and you miss it. You like, oh, I got to get up earlier. I got to grind. Maybe you don't have to get up earlier to accomplish what you've already accomplished, but to get this done, you do have to make some adjustments. And that's what the grind looked like, and that's what the hustle looked like. And can I say this, Ed? Man, I don't even know if I ever said this before, but sometimes, and I don't know if you've experienced this, sometimes, bruh, you putting up 40 with 30 rebounds, and you like, whatever, and then you go somewhere and God shows you. And I was talking to my son the other day, and he kind of was hurt because he was like, Dad, you know, you acting like I'm, and I said, hold up, I'm sorry. You putting up 30, you putting up 10, but the 30 points and the 10 rebounds have nothing to do with the assist. You don't get credit for assists because you scored and you got rebounds. They don't take your points and go, well, we're going to put those over in rebounds.
Right.
They don't take your rebounds and go, we're going to put those with your assist. Yeah. And when I left you, you know, there was a part of me that was like, God, you want me to do more?
Yeah.
You want me to do more? Am I not grinding enough? He was like, absolutely. And every seed you planted is going to grow. But you just looked at what Ed was doing and you saw there was a gap. So you have a choice to make here. You got rebounds, you got points, but the assists, son, you at 0. So what do you want to do? And there was a moment where I had to go, you're not overwhelmed. You're just rising to the level that God is asking you to rise.
Oh my gosh.
There's no anxiety. Yeah, the Bible said, be anxious for nothing, but in all things through prayer and supplication, make your request known to God. But there was a 30-second boy where it was like, man, God, how am I going to be blessed? He said, how? One, that's your boy. So you can just call.
Of course.
Then I had Rory in the back interviewing me. God like, yo, you don't have to do it. You could just, and I did just that. My relationship with Rory, you know, went from a person that, you know, respects him to sitting at his feet, to listen to the podcast, to studying you guys. And I can honestly say after that event, system-wise, you know, I've gone to another level. So to me, that's what it looks like when your expectations, your dreams, your goals, and your grind match. And if y'all not ready to work, it doesn't make you a bad human. Just lower your expectations.
Gosh, it's so good. And that idea of the grind, I want to say one thing, everybody. When he's talking about rebounds and points, the application of that for you is this, is that if you're average, you keep giving yourself credit for the things you're already doing. But if you want to be extraordinary, you got to go, what's the thing? Like The Power of One More in the book, I talk about your one decision away. I think all of you listening to this right now, if I could be honest with you, you already know what it is. You know the thing you're not doing, you need to be doing that would change your life and your business. You already know what it is. It's having the guts, the courage, the faith to call the shot. Like in E.T.'s case, I'm going to go back. I don't need to work harder. I got to get more systematic. Maybe I could even work less hard if I put these systems in place. For you, it might be something you are doing or that you need to stop doing to get your life to the next level.
Hey, you guys. So I don't know if you're like me, but seriously, this year for the holidays, I have been struggling with finding a cool gift. And if you're somebody who gives cool gifts, it's like everyone kind of expects it, right? And so this year, I am going to do the gift of StoryWorth. And let me tell you how it works. You know, for me, I want to give a gift to my loved ones that makes them feel special and unique, you know, like the relationship that we have. And so I'm giving everybody this year and my family and my close friends StoryWorth. It's actually what I'm doing. And so I'm super thrilled to tell you about them. Here's how it works. Each week, StoryWorth emails your loved ones a thought-provoking question that you can help pick. And Storyworth makes the writing process a breeze. All your loved one needs to do is respond with that email to the story. After that year of fun, Storyworth compiles all of your loved one's stories and photos into a beautiful keepsake hardcover book. With Storyworth, I'm giving those I love the most a thoughtful, personal gift from the heart and preserving memories and stories for years to come. Go to storyworth.com/Mylett and save $10 on your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/Mylett to save $10 on your first purchase.
Here's what you have in place, though, ET, that most don't. And so everyone goes, oh, I'm so motivated when I listen to ET. Listen, everybody, I want you to talk about this. I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before, if you even covered this, but there's like a subtle thing. I even watch this in sports, and it's what I would call like conditional effort. I'm going to make my full effort if the conditions present themselves the way that I want them. So like in football, if I'm starting and we're up in a close game, you're going to get my best effort to run to that tackle. But if we're down 26, maybe I won't take that hit. Or if I'm the third string guy, I'm not going to prep to my maximum level. My prep is conditional on how much I'm going to play. Or in business, it's conditional on what the marketplace is. Or it's conditional on how I feel today. And you and I, if there's something we both do well, and that I find with elite people is their effort is not conditional. Has he ever talked about that before, and do you agree?
Yeah, I haven't. I do want to say this. I want to go back to the last point, and what you said was dope. Listen to me, guys. There are those of you that you're great at something, and what you do is you do more of the great that you're doing, and it's almost the law of what is it? Diminishing returns. Mm-hmm. It's the law of diminishing return. Mm-hmm. It's like you got an area that you dope at. That's like me speaking. And I'm just going to keep speaking and not get systematic. And the reason why you do that is because it's easier to do more of what you're great at, right? Wow. Than to stop at a certain level of greatness and then go work on something that could really move the needle. And you being more of a great speaker, that's not about Eric Thomas getting more passionate is not about to move the needle. I promise you it's not. But Eric Thomas becoming more of a strategist, Eric Thomas becoming more of a sharp shooter and not just all over the place. Oh, bro, you put systems with this energy, this synergy, it's a wrap. So I do want to challenge those of you who try to read more. Bro, you're reading enough. You need to go apply some stuff that you read now. Stop reading all them books and balance it off. Now, I don't normally say names, but I want to say a name because, again, nobody's ever asked me this before. But my boy Terrion Arnold, he's he plays defense for the Detroit Lions, right? And we had a conversation. Okay, so he comes in, he from Bama, bro. You know what I'm saying? So he like, we went in this, I'm going for the Super Bowl. Like he wanted, and so I told this kid, I love you. Because, it's a difference between the NFL and I don't care what level you play in college. In the NFL, it's all one percenters. It's not necessarily one percenters every weekend in college football, right? You might be playing some guys. We don't even know the name of the team, right? So week 1 and week 2, bro, he keeps getting these, what do they call it? Interference, right? And he's so aggressive and he's doing his thing. And I was like, bro, I love you, bro. I love the fact that they're calling pass interference on you. They call him pass interference. Like, he's aggressive, he's doing his thing. And I'm like, yo, the fact that they call him pass interference and you keep going after it, I love it. Because a lot of kids, freshmen, rookies, you would be like, man, they keep calling pass interference, and so I'm going to get passive or I'm going to back off. I'm going to back down. Mm-hmm. I was like, hey, my suggestion is whatever you doing, you keep doing that because either the ref's going to get used to you or you going to figure it out. Yep. But the last thing we need you to do is to back down. And I'm telling y'all, what you don't realize is that the conditions in the beginning will try to change you. The conditions in the beginning will try to punk you. The conditions in the beginning will try to back you down. But when you show life that you're not playing, that you're serious, and it doesn't matter. This is why I love Michael Jordan. Again, I won't get into debate with everybody, but I like Mike because it didn't matter if you was a good team, he went after you. It didn't matter if you were an average team, he went after you. It didn't matter if you was a bad team. He went after you every single time, every single game. He went after you. He didn't care about the conditions. And when you get to a point that you no longer care about the conditions. I don't know what happens, if it's God. I don't know if it's human. I don't know. But there's a shift that happens where the conditions now just start to be in your favor. Like, I don't know how it happens, but in the beginning, my luck, bro, whatever you want to call it, I was planting bad seeds, making bad decisions. I don't know. I was up and down, but I'm telling y'all now, it just seems like wherever I go, it just works out. It just seems like I'm getting off the plane. I got to catch another flight. And I'm not supposed to make it, and I land in some kind of way, something happened. And so now I got 15, 20 minutes to get to my gate. I just get the gig. Somebody didn't show up to a gig in the Middle East, and I just end up getting, like, we got companies that are looking for people who to drug, and I just get in the cup. I just, like, the stuff that used to happen to me when I gave up too quick or when the weather wasn't right. That life, it just seems like it was a 50-50. This time, I don't gamble no more. I feel like this life is 7-11. It just seems like everything I touch, everything I do is blessed. And even when it's not blessed, some kind of way, all things still work together for the good for them that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So I would just say to you, keep going. And one day you're going to break the circumstances, and everything is going to start to lean towards your favor, and it's going to work out in your favor, but it will never happen if it's, Monday I didn't know. Get a workout regimen. You ain't going to feel like it every single day, but when you do it, when you don't feel like doing it, you probably going to get more out of it the day you don't feel like it than the days you did when you, let me tell you something. I run now. I run further the days I don't feel like it than the days that I feel like I can't understand it. But the days I don't want to do it and I still put on my shoes and I still go out, I'm running not on my strength, not on my ability. When I go out there, when I don't feel like running, it's something within. It's something else that clicks. It's something else that happens. So do me a favor, man, just make up in your mind, you're going to be committed to being a millionaire. You're going to be committed to changing the world. You're going to be committed to being a good father, a good husband. I don't know, but just commit to it, and somehow you will break the circumstances, and you'll wake up one day and everything will be going in your favor.
Woo, so good. So good. Yeah. Can we have ET on every week? I feel good right now. I was thinking,
one more podcast. Give me one more podcast.
One more. We're doing the next one in person. I'm going to tell you that.
All right. Yes.
I was thinking about what's my kryptonite. Obviously, my kryptonite is anytime I think it's all about me and not God. That's obvious. That's an easy kryptonite for me.
Absolutely.
But another one for me, like my super strength, I think this is true of all humans, but I want you to speak to it. When I know why I'm doing something, man, there is a supernatural force I feel like is behind me when I know why. And let me be more specific. However, there's times where, like, you kind of used to know why you're doing something, but it's just been a long time since you've revisited why you're doing it. You haven't checked in with yourself in a while. Like, even speaking for you and I, we're, depending on the list, it's usually you or me or another dude on the list, right? So, but like when I'm really on my game, it's weird. Like some days you go, I gotta go do a meet and greet and take pictures or something. And it's that very thing. You'll meet one person that reminds you, oh, this is why I do this. And all of a sudden, especially if that meet and greet's before I speak, there's a whole new level. And a lot of times in my life, when I forget why, or those of you that listen to this, maybe it's just been like a year or two since you've looked at why you do your business or why you are going to the gym. You're just going to the gym now, where at one point you went because you were going to get down to 10% body fat or lose 20 pounds or make your kids proud of you. And so I think a lot of people are walking around not knowing why. And if they would discover that, they'd be at a different level. What do you think about whys? I know it sounds general, but it's a huge thing, even in my own life.
Yeah, no. And I want to take it here. My kryptonite, and I truly want to say every day, I'm getting a little bit beyond it, and I'm doing what God would have me to do. But I think one of the challenges with my biological father not being there is somehow, this whole the need to be affirmed thing happened, and I don't know how old I was. I don't really know, but like I'm going to class now and I'm looking for my boys to, oh, that was a great joke, or I need to be in the crew or with, and so in my adult life, realizing that, my kryptonite was why they think I should be doing it. Right? Like, is your mama think you should be doing this? Or, in the club or the crowd, and you talked about the schools. I'll be honest, Ed, there was a time where it was like, I love doing that. I know that's what God called me to do. And that's why I got to go, God, why? Why are you asking me to do this? And I got to stay connected to God. Why are you asking? Because, bro, when you talk about putting up on the internet, you at some middle school kids event, bro, it just doesn't go as well on social media as when you at a big event with the superstars.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, it's not the same when you got a chance to do Good Morning America, one of the show, and like you don't show up and do, like, even though you may be able to do some kids podcast who only got about 5,000 followers, being on, a big network is something totally different when you start posting, and so for me, it's like, okay, E, you got to be careful. That's why they do it. That's why they do it, E. That's not why God is asking you to do it. And you have to be careful not to be so concerned with why they want you to do it, because when you were homeless, they weren't there. But God was. So why does he need you with middle schools? There's a reason, E. And here's the crazy part. You just said it. Like, you sparked something. You talked about, okay, maybe the signing before, the picture taken before, meet and greet before or after, so certain things happen. I'm not, and I wouldn't lie to you.
No.
There are kids. I got a kid who's a judge, who is like, no, you came to my school when I was in middle school. You said something in middle school that lit a fire up under me. High school, I went, E, you came to my college and I went to some little small school don't nobody know about. You didn't think because I didn't say anything to you afterwards, but bruh, you hit me with that father thing and I took ownership of my life. And it's like, when I do why God wanted me to do it, it doesn't always look attractive in the beginning, but then doors start opening for me. People start blessing me. I'm at a restaurant. I can't even hardly pay now when I go to a restaurant. Hey, somebody paid for you over there. Yeah. Or Mr. Thomas, this dude say he follow you online. He didn't want to say nothing to you. You was with Dee Dee. He didn't want to disrupt. And it's like, okay, sometimes I like, E, I saw you, but you was at a middle school. E, I saw you, but E, you're not doing the big gig this year. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. And it's like, that's why you want me to do it. But this is why God wants me to do it. And yeah, I'm doing what God wants me to do, but I'm not going to lie. You called it kryptonite, which means that it's out there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Kryptonite, well, Superman, it wasn't in his living room. It wasn't up the block. But it did exist somewhere. Yeah. And there were people who knew that they could get it and use it against them. And I'd still have to pray every day. God, I love you. And I want to do it for the reason why you want me to do it. But I still live in a world sometimes, God, where it seems like if I do it your way, is it going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, am I going to be blessed? Because if I do it their way, I can see how I could be immediately. And he like, son, trust me. You want to do it my way. You don't want to do it their way. So for me, it's staying locked in with, yeah, I got a why, but am I doing it for why he wants me to do it? Or am I doing it to make sure I eat, I stay on top? You know what I'm saying? Am I doing it for that reason? And I just have to be careful that I'm locked in with God and I'm doing it for the right reason. And even though I pray and believe in God, I was still born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Sure. And so there's still this challenge every now and then to do it for the wrong reason. But I just got to stay locked in and I got to try to do what he's calling me to do.
What an amazing answer. And by the way, that's the ultimate why. You hit something there I didn't think you were going to say, and that was great. Yeah. The other thing too, I have thought about that when I watch your posts. Like, you just so you know, when you're the greatest speaker in the world, and ET's that for me, it would be easy just to flex all the time in these big arenas. And just so you know, like online, when you're talking to 62 kids at a school, that's what the D-list guys doing on the come up to get some footage done. Right. Yes. And ET posts that stuff all the time because it's not about what you think. It's not about what it looks like. It's about his calling. And I really admire that about you, ET, very much. All right, last question.
All right.
This flew by.
I said a minute ago that, when I do these meet and greets, that's when the magic comes for me, is when I meet a human who just says, hey, you impacted me here, you made this difference, or whatever it might be. And it reminds me of why I do it. But I want to ask you this. I want you to pour into somebody. I want you to imagine someone's listening to this right now. And for a lot of people, they'll hear it coming into the new year, but they may hear it at any time. They may hear it 2 years from when we recorded it. But they're just not where they want to be in their life. So let's just say that we're in a coffee shop, or I walked into an elevator and it's just me and you. And I said, oh my gosh, ET, you've changed my life online. And you go, how are you? And I said to you, not so good. I've not accomplished in my life what I wanted to. I'm not as happy as I thought I would be. Maybe I'm even a little bit lost right now. I'm not feeling great. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm kind of just wondering why I was even born. I'm just kind of existing. And when I see you, I don't want to be that person. You make me not want to be the way that I feel most of the time. And if you just looked into that person's eyes, what would you say to them? Not knowing them as a person, but knowing they're a child of God. What would you say if you could pour into somebody who's got that feeling or question right now?
Yeah, I would say to them, and please, forgive me, guys, for using this, as an example. But I remember being a teenager on my way to college, and somebody gave me, I don't remember. I think it was Kohl's. Kohl's gave me a $2,000 charge card. And I was so excited because, I wasn't really making that kind of money. Didi and I were going to college together. I wanted to get the outfits to match. I wanted to make sure when we went to college, people knew she was with me, and I remember going to Kohl's and buying all the stuff. I got her a Guess watch that she has to this day. All my stuff is lost. Didi still got all her stuff, and I remember going to the counter, and they rang all my stuff up, swiped the card. And I remember the lady telling me it was declining, and I was just confused. I was confused. I was like, yo, they sent me this card. They gave me this, whatever. It's like, what in the world? I said, can you ring it? Do it one more time. She did it one more time, still declined. And I was like, okay, well, can you figure out why? Like, it's got to be a why. Why is it that my card is empty? Like, why is it that I don't have access to this stuff? And she's like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And then she said, oh, come to find out, you were right. You do have a credit limit, but you didn't activate it, right? You didn't activate it. So once you go call and activate it, you good. Listen to me. Here's what I would tell you. God already put it in you. You know what I'm saying? Like there's no you have to understand something. And this is where you guys, we just, as humans, we make the greatest mistake. My father wasn't there for me. My mother was a teenage mother. Do you understand that the one thing I learned from God about Eric Thomas is, bro, you are your greatest asset. Your greatest asset is not outside of you. Your greatest asset is not a house. You got to buy the house. The house don't buy you. You got to buy the car. You got to make the investment. The investment doesn't come to you. You come to, you have to understand that you are your greatest asset. And so you shouldn't be worried, or you shouldn't feel any anxiety or any stress. Why? Because it's already in you. You just haven't activated it yet. And you have the ability, whenever you're ready to, you have the ability to stop complaining and stop whining and stop looking at the negative and stop blaming. You literally have the ability, whenever you want to, just like me, take your butt to school. So what it take 12 years to graduate. Then go get your math. See if you can get your PhD. The worst thing you can do is fail. But whatever you do, don't not tap into it. Don't not see what's inside of there. Every day when you wake up, push yourself. Surround yourself with other people. The credit limit. There is no credit limit. Like, you talking about a whale? You talking about a lion? Like, you're talking about the stars of the sky? You can't even count them. You're talking about the water, the depths of the sea. And God says, of everything I made, there's nothing as dynamic as humans. There's no creature I've ever made that tops man. And so you got everything. Now, I don't know why you're looking out and you're thinking that by looking out, something's going to happen to you. I dare you to look within. I dare you. I dare you to go within. I dare you to go, how am I great? What did God call me to do? What's my purpose on earth? And I'm telling you, once you do that, it's unlimited. And that's why I'm telling you, Ed just talked about it. There's a list of us. It's real. It's like, okay, I'm going to go here. You know what I'm saying? I just got a gig, was like, okay, this person was on it, but they can't be there. You could be there. Look, you don't have to compete when you're with, like, we don't have limits. Right. That's why we run together. That's how it's like two juggernauts coming together. Yeah. There is no limit. We don't have to fight. There's not a lack of resource today. They print money on a regular basis. Yeah. There's not enough people on earth that don't need motivation or don't need a podcast or don't need us to write books. We can all write them. But the people who don't realize that it starts within, you want the people to like you. You want to get in a certain community. You want to get into, no, they don't make you great. You make that community great. And so I would just say, like that credit card, you talk about embarrassment, you talk about depleted, you talk about, and then within a second, she said, baby, all you got to do is go call this number that's on the back. Call that number on the back and tell them you accept. And once you accept the terms and the conditions, the money is yours. Go to the creator and tell him you accept. I accept the greatness that you called me to be. I accept it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready. And then boom, he gonna release it. And let me tell you something. He is not lack concerning his promises. He has no limitations. And so just go accept. Get from around humans, go in a quiet space, in a quiet room, get centered, and just cry out to the Father and say, I'm ready to accept the version of me that you saw when you created me. Not the version that I become because of this world, but whatever you saw in the beginning when you created me, I want to be that version. And let me tell y'all something. All the money and all that other stuff, I told somebody the other day, if you paid me $100 million to never use my gift again and never walk in my calling, I wouldn't accept it.
No way.
I wouldn't take your $100 million.
No way.
Why? Because it's not, now I'm grateful for the resources that I have, but what a feeling when you on stage and your mama looking at you on stage, your auntie looking at you on stage, your cousins are in the arena, your wife is staring at you when you're on stage, and you got people leaving saying, you know what? I'm in the 5th grade. I'm an asset. I'm not a liability. Why am I getting in trouble in school? Why am I not doing X, Y? I got to do better. Oh, that's the greatest feeling in the world. And yes, it's been great to pay my bills and buy a car, but there's no greater feeling going to bed at night and hearing, well done, thou good and faithful servant. You went and talked to some elementary kids for me, some middle school kids, and you made them realize who they were at a young age. And so that's what I would tell them, man. Activate it.
I love you. Accept the terms and conditions. By the way, this podcast today was especially designed for you to be activated. If this did not activate you today, you got to call a different number because this was unbelievable. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I'm grateful for you.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Thank you,
I want you to go get UOU 365 devotional at u2025.com. And by the way, every day you can spend those 10 or 15 minutes making deposits in your future and deposits in heaven, more importantly. So,
yes.
E.T., incredible podcast, brother.
Thank you, man. As always, hey, let it be known, every podcast I do is not as incredible. People watch the one we did before, and they'll send it to me and talk about you bring something out of me, bro. They're like, when you get energy and Eric's energy in the same room, yeah, it's electric.
It's electric. It should activate you, everybody. Activate your greatness. I love today. Dang it, I wish this wasn't over. All right, brother, I love you. Max out, everybody. God bless you.